It is Tuesday, January 25th, 2002, here at the Sooner Saloon. Emerson, how you doing, bud?
I'm well, thanks. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. Nick, how are you doing?
Doing good, doing good.
Doing good, awesome. We're all three back. So we're going to make a video today, kind of just about the 2021 season and our thoughts about it. A lot of rambling going on, just three OU fans bitching and complaining, celebrating everything that happened in the 2021 season. If you don't like rambling, you don't like negativity and positivity at the same time, don't watch our video. So here we go.
Probably going to have a lot of negativity in this
Probably.
episode, I would say.
Yep. There is. Yeah, there you go. So Oklahoma, starting the season off, was ranked preseason number 2. I remember Emerson in preseason asking me, hey, how high do you think Oklahoma's going to be ranked? I said, they're going to be top 2, dude. They're going to be top 2. And Emerson's, top 5 maybe. You remember that?
Yeah, I do. I didn't expect them to be number 2. I really didn't. Considering how much love Oklahoma usually doesn't receive from the national media, I would have expected them to probably be like number 4.
Yeah.
Entering the season.
Because we actually had a defense in 2020. They stepped up, so the country
go.
noticed that. That's the reason why we were so high there.
So Oklahoma came out, first game, it was originally supposed to be at Tulane. That hurricane came. I don't know which hurricane it was. Do you guys remember? I don't think it's really relevant to
September. Too early.
Yeah, there you go. Hurricane came, and they last minute switched it to Norman, Oklahoma. OU was obviously the home team, but they, due to last minute changes, the upper decks were not filled. And I think Oklahoma actually put some Tulane logos on the field.
Yes, they did.
So Oklahoma came out, and Nick was just saying the other day that first play by Spencer Rattler, when he threw the interception, that set the tone for the year.
It really did. It really did. I was like, it's a fluke. It's a fluke. We're going to be just fine.
And they go down the field and score a touchdown.
Here's what I did say, though. I said if I had 2 plays to define the whole season, it was Spencer Rattler's first pass downfield, and then it was the play where Caleb Williams takes the ball from Kennedy Brooks and gets the first down on a 4th and 1.
Pretty much.
To beat Kansas.
Yes.
But Oklahoma, like I said, they were number 2, and they end up beating Tulane 40-35 at home. What'd you guys think about that game?
Yeah, like you said, here comes Spencer Rattler out. First play of the 2021 season. Literally the Heisman favorite. And yeah, did he throw a pick the first play?
Yeah,
or
it was a pick.
Yeah.
Okay, it was his first play downfield. Pass line.
Yeah, he had like one short pass or something, I feel like, before, I don't know, I can't remember. Yeah. And then, they settled in, and at halftime, it was like a 17-point game, something like that.
I'm pretty sure we had 40 at halftime.
It was. I don't think
we had 33 at halftime. We scored once in the second half, didn't we? I don't know. I'll look.
It was something like that. But I know after halftime, it seemed like Oklahoma was settling down and was pulling away, and then the fourth quarter happened. And I remember looking at Nick. We were actually watching the OU game right here. Literally right here. And I remember looking at Nick, and I was like, dude, we could lose this game. We really could lose this game. And
it was 37-14 at half.
Okay.
So yeah, that's ridiculous.
So yeah, there you go. So we won that game 40-35 as the number 2 team in the country. The next week we played Western Carolina.
Yeah, and that was
It was 76-0.
Our 2023 class that hasn't even arrived on campus could have won that game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we were number 4 at that point. We dropped from 2 to 4, and we played Western Carolina, beat them 76-0. And at that point, you kind of looked at it and you're like, okay, I still don't know what we are at this point. Am I right? Am I wrong?
Definitely. And one more thing with the whole Tulane game. It came down to an onside kick.
Oh my gosh, it did!
If they get the onside kick,
did.
they would have won that game, I guarantee you.
It did!
Yeah, because Oklahoma's defense could not stop anything in the second half. And it was weird, dude, okay, because we got to give a shout-out to the Tulane quarterback for that game, too, because I remember the defensive line was on him every play, it seemed like, and he just kept battling and fighting back. And yeah, I mean, with the Tulane game, real quick, like, say what you want about Oklahoma escaped with a win, but, like, you could tell from the get-go, from that game, that, like, the offensive line was going to have problems. There were going to be problems in the protection game. But
you didn't want to admit it at the time. You didn't want to admit it to yourself. You knew it inside, deep down, but you knew Oklahoma was number 2 in the country, and this was our year. This was our year, but none of the OU fans wanted to admit that it was gonna be tough.
Yeah.
Well, at the same time, when the Heisman favorite has a touchdown and 2 interceptions, he didn't look good. Offensive line, that was the question mark going into the season. They were inconsistent. Play calling was inconsistent. It seemed like it was all pass first. And,
Run
Kennedy
the damn
Brooks.
ball!
That's what I was saying.
They
for the
didn't.
first
They didn't
5
know
weeks.
who their starting running back was because Kennedy that was his first game back in a year.
Yeah.
And
all
they had
running
Eric
backs
Gray.
had less than 100 yards.
Yeah.
And then moving on from that, we're going to move on from that. They beat Western Carolina, and then the Cornhuskers came to town. They came to town. I think they were I know they had one loss because I think they lost the first game, but they were 1-1 maybe, I believe. Doesn't matter.
They lost to Illinois.
Yeah, they did. They did. Oklahoma came out as number 3. They won 23-16. It was a very sloppy win. Nebraska all year they played a lot of teams close. They almost beat Michigan. They almost beat Oklahoma. Whatever. But what did you guys think?
Almost
about
beat
that
Michigan
Nebraska?
State.
Let me say something about this Nebraska game. So, okay, we win by 6, right?
7.
23.
7.
7. 1 touchdown.
Okay. We win by a touchdown. Nebraska misses 2 field goals. I'm pretty sure they might have missed a PAT.
Yeah,
And we
'cause
That we returned for
yeah,
2.
They got brought back for 2.
Yeah.
Pat Fields returned it for 2.
And then we get a
So there's an
win
8-point
in-
swing right
in the
there
red
with 2
zone.
field goals in the PAT.
So I'm just saying we could be 1-2 at this point.
With our only win over a Division II team, and it was a shutout.
Yeah. Losing to Nebraska and Tulane. I mean, and dude, and like everyone, I remember Oklahoma fans after the Tulane game. With the Nebraska, at least like you could justify, like, yeah, they had a couple other close games. Like they played Ohio State within 9 points. But the Tulane game, like Oklahoma fans tried to justify it the rest of the year as well. But it's like they finished like 1-11. They were not good. It's like what? Yeah, you can't justify something like
Emerson,
that.
do you remember back in 2010 when you and me ordered the pay-per-view Oklahoma versus Utah State game, and they won
Oh my
24-17, and they had DeMarco Murray, Landry Jones, Ryan Broyles, all those guys, and that game was so sluggish. They came out 21-0, but I think they won 24-17 or 31-24, whatever. I can't remember. And we thought, oh God, this is going to be a bad season. And then the next game they came out and just manhandled Florida State. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I was thinking it would hopefully turn out that way, but it never did.
Yeah. Well, and Oklahoma fans, like the whole year or like the whole first half of the season, we kept hearing from Lincoln Riley how close they were. You know. And usually with Lincoln Riley's teams, there is a little bit of truth to, the team starts off a little slow, and then second half of the season they kind of get their groove and they really come alive. So
Since 2017.
Oklahoma fans, we were waiting patiently for that to happen, and it, hindsight 2020, it never did. So
There you go. And then after Nebraska came one of the most stressful OU games I've ever seen, and that was the.
Well, hold on. Well, with this Nebraska game, like Nick said, you had I mean, don't forget you had the DJ Graham interception in
That
this
was
game.
great. That was great.
That was probably one of the most magical plays. Probably top 3 magical plays of the season. But
Yeah.
yeah, just wanted to say that.
Yeah, I forgot to bring that one up. But the West Virginia game, the 16-13 game, where they literally kicked a field goal with 0 seconds left on the scoreboard to win the game, 16-13. That one was bad.
Thing is, West Virginia should have taken that one too because they were driving down the field and the snapper shoots it over the quarterback's head to loss of like 10 to 15 yards, which perfectly set up Oklahoma to take that away from them. And they were, I think, within 30 yards of the end zone. So it looked like they were going to score, and we couldn't stop a slant route to save our life that night.
That is a good point. I completely forgot about that bad snap. Yeah, that was like
Saved us.
It was like 4th and 57 after that snap. Yeah, that was. Yeah, and they would have definitely scored on that possession if it wasn't for that. They were rolling.
And they should have been at that one point, or at that point in the season, 1-3.
And again, West Virginia ended up not being a good squad, even in the Big 12. I mean, they did not compete very well later on in the Big 12 after that. Like, West Virginia kind of got whooped by a lot of teams in Big 12 play.
The OU defense played well throughout all these weeks, back to back. And it was like, okay, how long can they really keep this up? And when is OU going to figure it out offensively?
Bend, not break.
Pretty much. And you have Lincoln Riley. You have Spencer Rattler, the Heisman favorite. Supposedly the future number 1 draft pick. So it's like, what's really going on? And throughout the season, you kind of learn. But that's beside the point. The play calling was just so inconsistent. Like you said earlier, I was screaming at the TV, run the freaking ball on first down, because we were not doing that. And it literally took 5 weeks to get there.
Yeah.
And I'm not even
going into this year with Spencer Rattler being the Heisman favorite, you expected no one expected him to come out and just immediately jump off exactly where he left off in 2020, because at the end of 2020 he was playing really good football. So yeah, you expected to take him a couple games to get into rhythm again, which is fair. But every week as Oklahoma fans, we were just sitting there waiting for, where's this quarterback development? When are they really going to start airing it out and letting it loose? When is Marvin Mims going to get involved in the passing game and start becoming that dude again that he was last year? And every week we just had to wait and wait longer and longer, and it never happened.
It was bad. And then shooting to the next week, they played at Kansas State, and I have it written down. They were number 6. They went into Manhattan playing against a team they lost 2 years in a row to. They beat them 37-31, and it kind of was a convincing win. It really was. It was a convincing win. I had some confidence going into the Texas game, and Nick wasn't confident at all going into that Texas game. I think me and Emerson were a little bit more confident than what Nick was.
That was the first game I told myself we're going to lose. I really didn't have much confidence in us. And the fact that we couldn't tackle anybody for the first 5 weeks of the season, that was a big part of it. And knowing that Texas has such a good roster, when OU can't move the football, like the worst I've seen under Lincoln Riley, yeah, I'm not confident in that. But I do want to
quickly
say,
with the. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Right, I want to stick to the Kansas State just a little bit longer here. Oklahoma had opportunities to run away with this game. Second half, we got a 27-10 lead, we got a 34-17 lead, and it's turnovers that shoot ourselves in the foot, as well as giving up a special teams kick return all the way to the house.
Yep, I was just about to bring that up. Yeah, it was a 13-point game, really late in the fourth, and then Oklahoma with its undisciplined special teams play that we got all year, especially without Shane Beamer being here. They return it, and make it a one-possession ball game that comes down to another onside kick, like how the last two games have came down to onside kicks against this team. And we said the whole week going into the K-State game, this team's beaten you twice in a row. Are you going to man up and put them in their place? You're obviously way more talented. Be the more disciplined and more physical football team and go out there and dominate. Like how, remember when Baker lost to K-State? Was that his freshman or sophomore year? And then the next year they come out and beat him like 55-3.
No, that was when Oklahoma lost to Texas in 2015 to a 1-4 Texas team, 20.
That's right.
24-17, and then the next week they go into Manhattan and just whoop K-State 55-0. That was
okay. Well, didn't the year before that they lose to K-State? I can't
2014. No, they beat them in 2014.
Okay, I can't remember what I was thinking about.
K-State beat Oklahoma in 2000. No, 2014. K-State beat Oklahoma. You're right.
It was at home. Trevor Knight. He threw a pick six.
Yeah, and that's a different. Yeah, you're right, Emerson. K-State beat Oklahoma in 2014.
Yeah, so you expect Oklahoma to come out. This team has embarrassed you twice in a row, and they still can't come out even when they're up by 2 possessions late in the game and just cover a freaking kick. Like, come on, we have Lincoln Riley, and this is where the frustration, I think, really started to build for the fan base, especially saying, with the potential national championship caliber expectations that we had this year. By the K-State game, it's like, okay, yeah, we're sitting here 5-0, but as Reed mentioned earlier, we could easily be sitting at 1-4, after that K-State game.
Absolutely.
So
this is gonna be a 30-minute video. Yeah, we're at 20 minutes already, fellas. Anything on the K-State game as we move on?
That's all I have to say. I mean, just
is Deuce Vaughn coming back? That's what I want to know.
I hope not. I hope not. Anyway, so the next week Oklahoma goes into the Cotton Bowl, Dallas, Texas, against number 21 Texas. Maybe. Yeah, 21 Texas. Texas at halftime is up 38-20. Spencer Rattler gets benched. Oklahoma looks terrible. Texas comes out 14-0 with the first 2 minutes or something like that. A blocked punt.
Their first play of their possession, they take it.
Yes.
They take it. I think it's Xavier Worthy down the sideline. We missed 2 guys, missed tackle him. And then we go 3 and out. They block the punt, and within about 2 minutes,
they score.
With about 2 minutes on the clock, they take a 14-0 lead, and I thought that's how the game was going to go.
I actually bet a tattoo on that game. Thank God I didn't lose that one.
Barely, you passed, but
but Caleb Williams made his debut and helped us with a comeback win, 55-48 over Texas, and that was probably the best Red River shootout I've ever. That was the best Red River shootout that I've watched.
Yeah,
I can't.
That game was insane.
I can't think of. 2007 with Sam Bradford and Mark Murray was good. 2010 was pretty good when they had that muffed punt. Do you remember that, Emerson, when we punted it and then Texas they muffed it and we got the ball back? And
weren't we up by 7 at that point?
It was the score was 28-20, and we were punting. That was the final score. But yeah, that Texas game was pretty stressful. But that's when we were very uncertain who's going to be the quarterback the next week, Spencer or Caleb.
Yeah, and I think the decision was pretty obvious of who you should have gone with, but
yeah.
Lincoln Riley
before
was too
Spencer even got benched in that. What?
Lincoln Riley was too buddy with the with players overall. I just feel like he was too buddy with Spencer. Didn't want to hurt his feelings. It's a business.
Yeah.
What were you gonna
say? And it seemed like there was a lack of, just a lack of focus and a lack of intensity.
Yeah.
Along the whole sideline, and before Spencer Rattler even got benched, Caleb Williams came in for one play in the Texas game and ran it off tackle for a huge gain that set up Oklahoma's first touchdown, I do believe. Oh, no, wait, that was in the second quarter.
touchdown.
So that made it 14-28 was Caleb Williams' touchdown. Okay, you're right. My bad.
Yep.
But still, anyway, yeah, and Lincoln Riley it just seems like he could never get his team prepared for games mentally. At least big games. I don't know.
It was bad.
Yeah, definitely a lack of preparation there.
And then so, after Oklahoma beats Texas in the comeback win, they beat a ranked Texas team who then proceeded to lose every freaking game after that. Did they win another game after that? I don't know if they did or not.
I think they ended the season on a win against West Virginia.
Okay, so they were like 5-7. But anyway,
yeah.
So after you beat Texas, comeback win.
And don't forget they lost to Kansas in that losing streak. By the way,
They did.
They did
That
lose
was pretty
Kansas,
great. But they play TCU. Caleb Williams is the starter, and they looked pretty good. I mean, it was what was the score? I can't even remember. They beat
It
them
was
like
52-31, and it
yeah,
looked like
52-30.
it looked like the best offensive performance overall in a game.
It looked like Oklahoma was
throughout
back.
that season.
Yeah.
To
Yeah.
that point, I should say.
Arguably, TCU was the most complete game across the whole team
Oh,
of the season.
Yeah.
Season. And even with that, the
and
defense
Texas
didn't
Tech.
play particularly well.
And
yeah, and Texas
Carolina.
Tech, yes.
And Western Carolina.
We don't count
That one doesn't count.
That's not fair.
Okay.
Yeah, Texas Tech and TCU, for sure.
So they're undefeated at this point. And then Saturday, October 23rd, we all live in Kansas. We're like, hey, let's go up and let's go to the Oklahoma KU game in Lawrence and let's watch Oklahoma steamroll Kansas. Well, that didn't freaking happen. We all went to that game, and it was pretty stressful. If you go back, if you guys are still watching this video up until this point, go back in our videos and look at the Oklahoma versus Kansas recap. You can the first 5 minutes of the game is at the OU game, and Emerson was pretty plastered, and it was pretty funny. But yeah, that was a frustrating game.
Well, we don't even know how long that first quarter, any timestamps of the first quarter, because they didn't have the scoreboards working in the stadium.
Yeah. Yep.
Until 3 minutes left in the first.
It was a conspiracy.
Oh, yeah, that game was, I think the Kansas game was the boiling point for fan frustration this year. Because, like Nick alluded to earlier in the podcast, your one miraculous, genius, mega mind, universal brain play from a freshman quarterback play away from Kansas upsetting Oklahoma and ruining their national championship hopes that were still alive at that point. So
Let me tell you guys something. So 6 out of our 11 wins came down to 7 points or less. So you might as well up that to 7 against Kansas, because if you don't get that 4th down, you probably lose the Kansas Jayhawks in Lawrence. So you might as well go 7 out of 11 games could have very well been losses.
To a 30% packed stadium and 15% of that being OU fans.
yeah. Well, yeah, Nick, we should count this game as a one-possession win, because up until 42 seconds left in the fourth quarter of the game, it was 28-23. Oklahoma scored a touchdown to put it up 2 possessions within the last minute of the game. So yeah, I would count this definitely very much so as a one-possession win for the Sooners. And yeah, we didn't even mention it during the podcast. Kansas opened up their doors to the stadium at halftime and said, "We don't give a shit about revenue. We're about to beat the Oklahoma Sooners, the number 5 team in the country. Get your asses in here and cheer on your Jayhawks." That's what they were saying. They were letting people in for free. That's how big of a game this was. And Kansas came to play, and their offense executed and took advantage when they could, and their defense, they picked off Caleb Williams, and
it was 10-0
they made
at
plays.
halftime. It was 10-0 at halftime. Kansas.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I'm glad I had to work
Yeah.
that day. I didn't waste any money.
We had fun. I mean,
It was fun.
It was fun. You know?
It was fun. It was an entertaining game,
It was.
for sure.
And my dad was cheering for Kansas and OU stuff and being really sarcastic, and all the KU and OU fans were just anyway. So
The KU fans were very nice, by the
dude,
way.
they were.
It was a great
they were
atmosphere.
They were cool. They were awesome.
Yeah.
I had
Yeah.
fun. They had
Yeah.
fun too, I guess. And then the next week, we played Texas Tech at Oklahoma. We beat them 52-21, and that was a pretty solid performance too. It was compared to like the OU TCU game. Caleb Williams was the starter still.
Honestly, it was the OU passing game that stood out the most.
Yeah.
They were pretty unstoppable. Caleb Williams had over 400 yards in this passing, and Mims had 135 yards receiving. So that was 3 games this season that an Oklahoma wide receiver had more than 100 yards. And that's it. And it was always Marvin Mims.
Can you?
Just 3
more?
games this whole season where at least one receiver has more than 100 yards.
Try it.
Are you serious?
Yes.
How many did Jaden Hazelwood have? Because he had a hat trick in the Texas Tech game, didn't he?
He had 3 touchdown catches, but he wasn't the leader in receiving yards.
He didn't break 100 yards?
Nope. I don't
Really?
I don't-
Wow.
Well, he wasn't the leader. I shouldn't say he
Okay.
didn't break 100. But I know there
That
was
is
very few moments in this season where
That-
they were over 100 yards receiving.
That is wild. I mean, well, and shout out to Lincoln Riley, man. That sneaky son of a bitch. He had us fooled. He had us fooled. This was the week before the Baylor game. Arguably the best team Oklahoma played all year. I mean, they ended up winning the Big 12. So, yeah, they probably were. Oklahoma fans were sitting pretty. Oh, yeah, Oklahoma's back. Their offense is good. They just hung half 100 on a decent Texas Tech team. They'll be fine. They're back. The freshman quarterback's playing great. But we didn't realize, we even kind of brought this up when we were talking about the Texas Tech postgame show. There was no run game whatsoever. Kennedy Brooks could not do any. Oklahoma had 72 rushing yards against Texas Tech. And we thought that we were going to go into Baylor, the most physical defense in the Big 12, and beat them. No. Oh, he had us fooled so good, just like the snake in the grass he is. That is,
Tebow.
yeah,
You know what Tebow means, right? TBOW.
yeah. That bitch out west.
So, as you were saying, Emerson, 72 rushing yards against Texas Tech.
Yeah, 72 rushing yards. Here we are thinking, Oklahoma's offense is back. They're going to cruise over Baylor, and that is not what happened the next week. And it's just a testament. This game is a slap in the face to Oklahoma fans all over the country that thought Oklahoma still had a chance at this point, because we all should have known that the offensive line was not at the caliber necessary to win a national championship or even a Big 12 championship, because they didn't do either. And I think we saw some limitations, the limitations of this offense, but Lincoln Riley was able to disguise it because of the subpar pass defense they were going against.
Right, and you have to give Coach Aranda some credit, because he has completely turned around this Baylor program from the downs that they were at, with Art Briles and just picking them back up. What were they? 2-3 wins last season? But he has completely just shut down Lincoln Riley in pretty much every game he's been a part of. And, Oklahoma defense played well until about the second half. They started to get tired.
They can't do it on their own.
They can't.
Yeah.
They
And
can't.
when you score 14 points, that's not going to get the job done.
It's not.
That's just
And
how
the sad thing is, fellas, Oklahoma still could have won that game in the fourth quarter. They still could have, with how terrible the offense play was. They still could have.
Yeah.
It was ridiculous. But, and I was telling Nick and Emerson, I think I told you the same thing after that loss. as an OU fan, since I've been an OU fan, that Baylor game was the most least painful loss I've ever experienced as an OU fan. The least painful loss, because I didn't want Oklahoma to go 12-0, 13-0, go to the playoff and just get creamed.
Get shut out by a Georgia.
Bad. Dude,
Completely shut out.
Yeah.
I don't even think
Yeah.
Oklahoma.
They would have lost to Cincinnati.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, they would have.
I mean, yeah.
So Oklahoma loses that game. They play Iowa State.
Well, I just want to say real quick
ahead.
on the Baylor game. I mean, Oklahoma goes out and scores on their first possession, goes up 7-0, and then it's Baylor touchdown, Baylor field goal, Baylor touchdown, Baylor touchdown. Oklahoma finally gets another score with 2.5 minutes left in the fourth.
Yeah.
I mean, you're going literally 3.5 quarters with just literally hoping your defense can not give up any points at all. Like, how's that going to work? Sorry.
No, you're fine.
Just the Baylor game was a lot worse than people thought it was. And yeah, the defense played really well until the end, but the offense just got manhandled.
Yeah.
Bad.
They did.
That's all I got on the Baylor game.
Now you're good. And then the next week, they played a solid Iowa State team, and I wasn't sure how that was going to turn out, but they played a solid performance. They could have done better.
Rely on a defensive touchdown. Jalen Redmond to the house.
Yeah, where he batted the ball out of the quarterback's hands, Purdy's hands.
Yeah. Great. And then Perrion Winfrey just took Brock Purdy's soul.
That was probably the best hit I saw all season right there. It was just a perfect combo.
Yeah, that was the best defensive play of the year in my opinion.
Perrion versus not the most mobile QB of all time.
But so Oklahoma was sitting at 10-1, atop of the Big 12 polls standings, and they had a Bedlam matchup with Oklahoma State in Stillwater. And at this point, it was you beat Oklahoma State, you go for a rematch the next week against Oklahoma State in the Big 12 championship if you win. Fellas, Oklahoma was up by 2 possessions at one point in that game against Oklahoma State.
Did we have 33 points at halftime?
It was Oklahoma was up like 33 to something.
I want to say we were completely shut out in the second half.
It was 24-24 at half.
Okay.
And then Oklahoma was up 33-24 in the third quarter, like late in the third quarter.
Correct.
I believe. And that was from a muffed punt that Oklahoma scored on. And I remember I was working, I was watching on my phone, I was kind of busy. But I remember checking in at 33-24, and I was like, I think Oklahoma's going to run away with this. But unfortunately, guys, that wasn't the case here.
Yeah. Well, like you said, Nick, you are correct. Oklahoma was shut out in the second half of the Oklahoma State game, just like they were shut out in the first half of the Kansas game. Wow, Lincoln Riley, this offensive fucking guru, sorry, pardon my French, this offensive guru gets shut out in 2 halves of the season, one against a dog water Kansas team, and then obviously Oklahoma State had a really good defense. But yeah, the only points that Oklahoma scored in the second half was that safety. Thank you, Perrion Winfrey. And then the fumble recovery, the muffed punt fumble recovery that was in the end zone.
Which was not offensive scores. They weren't offensive scores.
Yeah, exactly.
They were special teams and defense.
You're right, exactly. So yeah, the offense was shut out in
then
that half as well.
God, just when you thought it was over and Oklahoma gets the ball back, Caleb Williams breaks for I don't know how.
Yeah, about 55 yards.
Yeah, it was a long run. I thought he was going to put the team on his back and do it.
Dude, and he almost did.
Like,
and I'm not going to use this as an excuse, but that ball he threw to the end zone was a clear pass interference, was horse shit. It should have been called. I'm not saying that would have determined the outcome because Oklahoma was very sluggish, but damn, man.
Yeah, you also had.
But also, if you're Jaden Hazelwood,
exactly,
you had 4 opportunities at what probably was 4th and 15 at least. I don't know the exact amount of yards it was, but they had 4 opportunities to get the job done. 4 shots to the end zone. Can't do it.
Yeah. Well, and if you're Jaden Hazelwood and you're getting held, you can't just go up with one arm. You got to at least attempt to flail the other arm and get the ref's attention if you're getting held like that, on the last play of the game. Try and get a flag.
And it was
Yeah.
it was a heartbreaker loss, but as an OU fan, I think I've only experienced a loss to Oklahoma State in like 2002, 2001, something like that. The other one was 2011, 2014, and this past year. So, whatever. It is what it is. You can't win them all.
And Spencer Sanders had a great run to set them up for their, game.
Yeah,
winner.
props to Oklahoma State. I hate the Cowboys with a passion, but they deserve to win completely, and I'm good job, good job, guys.
Yeah.
On the other hand, you were also about 3 inches away from a Big 12 championship, but you couldn't get it done. Sorry, Cowboys fans.
Yeah.
It's true.
So at this point, Oklahoma finished the regular season 10-2. They weren't going to a Big 12 championship. They probably at this point, the New Year's Six Bowl was out of question. Not 100%, but whatever. There were rumors swirling around of Lincoln Riley possibly going to LSU. Emerson wasn't buying it at all. I wasn't buying it. And then the post-game interview, he was asked about it. And Lincoln Riley says, I will not be the next head football coach for LSU. That's what he says.
And he said, next question. And I had a feeling that he was going to LSU for a reason. And I was like, okay. Once I saw that, I was like, all right, we got Lincoln. Let's go.
And then the next morning, I wake up to a text from Nick and a ESPN notification that Lincoln Riley has accepted the head football coach at the USC Trojans.
Yeah.
And
It's only fitting that, obviously Bob Stoops has such a great run at Oklahoma, and he loses to Oklahoma State, I don't know, once or twice in his tenure at Oklahoma. And then Lincoln Riley, being the snake that he is, lies to everyone's face like how he does
That bitch
in the
out
press
west.
conference. Yeah. Tebow. And then I don't like saying Tebow. I don't like how it just rolls off the lips because it makes me think of Tim Tebow, who's also a bitch. But anyway, how fitting for Lincoln Riley to lose the last game that gets you into the Big 12 championship against your in-state rival that you're literally, you're leading the series 1,000,000 to 17-2 or whatever the fuck it is. Pardon my French again. Sorry, I usually don't curse this much. This whole season was just incredibly frustrating, and it's having an effect on me. But, you lose to an in-state rival that you never lose to, and then you just leave the program after you completely ruined 2 5-star quarterbacks' entire collegiate careers, potentially. I guess Caleb Williams still has a chance. But, at least at Oklahoma, you ruined their careers. And, you lose to a team that was a 2-win team last year and a team that you usually beat every year. So, it's a fitting end to a crappy season where the coach didn't even care and he couldn't even develop literally the best talent in the country in his own room to make them win games in a conference that a lot of people would say isn't very good. And a lot of people would argue Cincinnati came out of a better conference this year than Oklahoma did. So,
you hit it spot on. You took the words out of my mouth. And then, after that, decommitments out the ass. The palace was burning down, stress, and Brent Venables gets hired on as the coach.
And in that process, I said there's one guy that I want. The rest is a bust for me. One guy that I do want is Brent Venables. And we have to go defense first with this hire, and that's exactly what Oklahoma did. His resume doesn't lie. And hats off to Bob Stoops for stepping up in a time period where Oklahoma absolutely needed him. And to go on and watch that Oregon game when Drake Stoops caught that ball in the end zone on the outside shoulder, celebrating Bob and Drake was a great moment for me.
That was great. That was a top fiver as an OU fan, definitely. And Oklahoma capped off the win too, and they were a depleted Oregon team, but it was a depleted Oklahoma team too. So I don't want to freaking hear it. It went both ways, and at the end of the day, Bob Stoops got one more bowl win, which that's what was. How do you put that?
191st win, I believe.
Yeah. Where's Rhett?
That almost put him above 800, or almost put him above an 80% winning percentage too.
Which is crazy.
He's at like 70. He's at like .798.
There you go.
As far as winning percentage now.
There you go. And the season ended well. It went great towards the end. That bowl game was amazing. Seeing Bob Stoops one last time coaching, capped it off to a real shitty season. A lot of fans would be saying, "Hey, you guys were 11-2. That's a good." At the University of Oklahoma, this,
It looks good on paper.
It does.
The 11-2 looks good, but it was by far one of the most stressful seasons I've seen as an Oklahoma fan. Just you never know what you were going to get each week, whether it was going to be Oklahoma struggling or defense doing well, offense struggling, vice versa. You just didn't know, and letting teams hang around with us. Letting teams hang around within one possession is almost more than half the games were like that, and then just capping off with Lincoln deciding to leave. It's like, okay, maybe this makes a little bit more sense, and maybe this was something he decided a long time ago. So, just one of those seasons.
Yeah.
There you go.
I would say just like kind of closing it up, like the expectations versus the reality for this season was probably the worst case scenario that we've had at Oklahoma since like 2013 when they were like number 2 or whatever, preseason number 1.
2011.
11.
Yeah.
And
When they lost to Texas
right?
Tech and it just ruined their season.
too.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
like this has got to be up there
But
with
we didn't
them,
lose our
you know?
head
I
coach at the end of the year like that. It was
right.
It was a different feel.
I'm just saying, like expectations versus what actually happened
Absolutely.
by the end of the season as far as wins and losses. But yeah, like
Absolutely. But
it's just
we're getting really high on time. This is a really long episode, but we had a lot of stuff we had to say. But I just want to tell everybody the future's bright at Oklahoma. It's only going to get better. We're going to be good. Brent Venables has us. We're going to get into the SEC just fine, fellas. It's going to be okay. It'll be good.
I want to ask you guys what you would give like what letter grade you would give this 2021 Oklahoma team. I'm going to give them a C-, just expectations versus reality. I'm going to give them a C-. I mean, an average season at Oklahoma is 12-2, and they didn't even get there. So that's why they got to be below average for me. I'm going C-, and just the expectations that they had. With how talented this team was.
Yep.
And like you said, even if they would have went undefeated, like, in Big 12 play and won the Big 12 championship and got stomped in the college football playoff, I still wouldn't give them higher than a B because, like you said, they struggled against teams that they shouldn't have struggled with all year.
Yeah, I agree. I have to give this C- as well.
Yeah, I would probably give it about a C+, B- range. And the reason for that is just the record, 11-2. Like I said earlier, there's just too many close games, but you got to give him credit for. I think a lot of that was Lincoln Riley. I think his head wasn't in it. You could just tell by his reactions on the sideline. Was nothing like it was early in his career. So that's my reasoning.
Absolutely. That's what we have. I mean, that's kind of our thoughts on the 2021 season of Oklahoma football. I know there's a lot of ranting, a lot of bitching, but, it's what it is. So we're going to wrap it up. It's a pretty long video. Thanks, everybody, for commenting. Thank you, everybody, for subscribing, liking our videos. We really appreciate it. We really couldn't do it without you guys. We have a lot of fun doing it, too. Emerson, do you have anything?
Like, comment, subscribe on YouTube, and follow us on Facebook and Twitter.
And follow our new TikTok page. We just got one. We'll be posting the link around on our Facebook page, YouTube, all that stuff. So, Nick?
Yeah, just let us know what you guys thought about our season in the comments, and we'll get back with you. We'll comment right back to you and bounce back some information. So we appreciate you guys.
Awesome. See you guys later. Boomer Sooner.
Boomer.
Boomer.